Well, today we're out in greenhouse number 4 and we're going to plant some things. We've already planted something that I'll tell you about in a little bit, but first let me tell you that we're going to plant this bag of spinach, not the whole thing, but I accidentally bought a big bag of spinach like it was 100 million, I don't know, I don't know, a lot of seeds. I ordered it from Johnny's and it's space spinach. That's the variety. That's the best one that I've ever found to grow because it bolts slowly and it produces great. And then we're going to plant a bunch of beets. Last year we grew a lot of beets. I canned beets. I have a lot of beets canned. I'm willing to can more for future. And we also like to eat beets. I mean, old guy and I can eat beets like, I think probably 2 or 3 times a week we'd like to eat beets in the summer, fresh beets. And then I'm going to plant some Swiss chard. And I'm going to plant some chow blend radish. That's white ones and red ones and pink ones and all kinds. And then I'm going to plant some white stem pak choi.
The soil in this house has gotten compacted quite a bit. And so this year I took my bobcat with the forks on it and I went through and started that in, put them in the ground about a foot deep and raised them up and dumped it. And they came up in huge hunks. This morning I took my tiller on my tractor and knocked the real rough part off. But I afraid to get too close to the edge, tear the house down, so right along the edge I'm having to do the hand tiller to break those chunks up. But it has made a very nice bed in here now. Of course I'll have to till this house another time or two, but it's a little too early yet to do that, but it's going to work down real nice and have a good depth on the seed bed.
I used to live in the country on a high lonesome hill, crow by day, by night the whippoorwill. I used to live in the country on a high lonesome hill, crow by day, by night the whippoorwill. But I'm satisfied, tickled too, just to be with you.
My dog and I planted about 100-foot row right here of green beans a couple of days ago. And we planted them about every 2 to 3 inches apart to seed. And so adding a water line to it today and turning a little bit of water on. There's plenty of moisture in the ground here right now to sprout them. But I'm going to have the water and fertilizer line set up. So I'll be adding just a small amount now and then instead of trying to flood the whole place. I'm just going to barely add enough to keep the roots moist. The way we seal the ends of these water lines, we just tie a double knot in the end of them. And that, some people lap them over a couple of times and try to split it in and slide it across. But for me, that doesn't work very well. And this works pretty good.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to put a ground staple in to hold my line in place once I get it where I want it. And so that should do that. Well, Jan replanted the carrots in her carrot bed this past week. And the first planting, more weeds came up than carrots. So it looked like the easiest thing to do was to replant them and maybe get a head start this time with the weed situation. Well, from the end of the carrot bed to the south end of the building, which is probably about 80 feet at least. Well, we worked that area and gonna plant these seeds that she just mentioned to you. And well, Jan raked the clods out of the ground I had worked out to the edge of the beds we're gonna plant, and got the ground nice and smooth. So we're ready for her to put the seeds in, and I'm gonna rake them.
We're gonna start with the spinach seeds. I'm gonna grab a handful. And I'm gonna scatter them out in here.
I'm trying not to drag the rake, I just want to jiggle it where the seeds and soil will kind of mix up. Because you drag it, you're liable to have it all on one side.
Next I'm gonna do beets. These are Detroit dark red. They're just an open pollinated garden beet, and they do really well for us. So that's what's next.
Well, I'm going downtown with my hat caved in, coming back home with a pocket full of tin. Well, I'm going downtown with my hat caved in, coming back home with a pocket full of tin.
He's hooking up the drip line into the supply line. There are these little valves that go into the supply line, and then you thread the drip line onto the end of it. And then you tighten a nut down onto the drip line, and it holds it in place.
We got 2 water lines laid out on what we just planted, and so that should water them quite well. Well, I just turned the water line on. We have a 4-gang adjustment. I turn it on, and when I can hear it start to spewing just a little, why I check my line inside, because I don't want it to get real tight on the feeder line, or it'll bust all the water lines down through there. That's a little bit too much there right now. We have a pressure gauge on this control valve, but I can't read them. I'm too blind, so I have to go by feel. And that may be too much off. I think that might be all right. And as soon as the water gets solid under the, the wetness underneath the line, well, I'm going to shut it off, because I don't want anything getting really wet, because your ground just gets hard if you soak it up too much.
The little holes in the drip line are 4 inches apart, so you can see that every 4 inches we've got a little puddle developing.
Just to be with you.
Control valve, but I can't read them. I'm too blind,